What's up, people? How are you? Let's see. Should I put my little thing right there, or is that too much of a distraction to the eyeball? Kind of like it. Let's turn it. I don't know. Maybe I should put it out of the picture. What do you think? There's nobody here to vote, so I'll just do it the way I want to do it. I'm going to put it right there. All right. So, thanks for coming in. I decided lately that I will just turn my lives on before I am completely ready, because it kind of takes me forever and a day to get completely ready. So forgive me if you don't mind while I'm tweaking the set. But I'll try not to. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. What else do I have going on? Hit your like button if you'd be so kind. Make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not, consider subbing up. It helps a channel a lot. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think will like my channel, and turn on your notification bell to ring. Forgive me for my braces as well. Sometimes I feel like I'm learning how to talk more better with them, and other times I'm just like, man, there's just not enough room in my mouth for my tongue anymore, huh? It's kind of what it feels like. So no one's here yet. I get very lonely, although I do enjoy my solitude, so I just have to remind myself of that. But I don't have anyone to tell me if the sound is okay. It looks like it's okay. So why don't I just go ahead and get started in outlining some of the madness that I want to discuss today. Did I do my disclaimer? I don't think I did. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. When you say those things every day, sometimes you think you said it and you didn't, or other times you did say it and you don't remember saying it, so you say it a second time. Either way, don't really matter. What matters is that we're here, that we're fighting for justice, truth to power. There's so much crap going on in the world. As I come onto my live, I see that there's another open shooter in a university. I think it said Louisiana, Arkansas, somewhere down there. It seems like there's a lot more chaos going on since the inauguration of this year. So I've said it so many times. When I was little and I watched Get Smart and they would talk about the chaos agents, I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what the word even was, but this is what it is, right? It's just creating small fires everywhere so that it's a huge distraction and people can't focus, and there's too many things competing for the headlines. So we're not going to get distracted by these things. Hopefully we're going to stay laser focused. I think for myself and for a lot of people, one of the laser focuses is quite simply the Trumpstein files, right? Absolutely, the Trumpstein files. They're not going away, not changing the subject, even with, Battlestar Galactica blowing up the infinity. You're not distracting us from this. It's just kind of human nature to want to protect the cubs, right? And that was primarily who was being hurt in that whole system of the modeling agencies and the transporting of kids. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how these lame jerks always want to play the victim. Always. So we've got Kristi Noem. Poor Kristi Noem. So sad. Amanda Knox. Ghislaine. Jiz, as I like to call her. Poor Jiz. She's had such a hard life. So we know that the conversation that she had, the 3-hour conversation that she had with Todd Blanche, was released. I think it was Friday. And there's been excerpts of that conversation that have kind of hit the airwaves harder than some of the other excerpts. And some of the excerpts, of course, haven't hit at all. But I think some of the things that are the most important to me to point out in the tapes of her, first off, I want to talk about her damn voice. Like, she talks very faintly and airy. It reminds me a lot of Jackie Onassis. I think Marilyn Monroe spoke like that too. But Ghislaine, we can't really hear you, dear. Please speak up. Actually, no, we don't care what the F you have to say. You're a lying sack of crap. So pretty much everything that she says, it's sort of like Chris Watts or Nicole Kessinger in the Watts case, or like the Trumpster fire in the White House. Everything they say is pretty much the opposite of the truth. And everything that they accuse you of is exactly what they're doing. So, you know, we have Jizz over here talking about how there was no list, there was nothing inappropriate ever. She never saw anybody be anything less than a perfect gentleman, including little E, right? It's pretty insane. So more information is coming down the pike. On September 3rd, we have, I think, 20, 30, maybe even 40 victims of the Trumpstein fires, and mostly probably little E rather than little T, because, you know, mobster style. It's like Scarface out here. So a lot of victims are scheduled to testify in front of Congress, like the day that they get back. So that's coming a week from tomorrow. So today is what, the 25th of August, and it's Monday. So we're a week from Labor Day, and then Tuesday, Congress is back in session. Unless they decide to extend their vacation, which wouldn't surprise me. You know, they do the funniest things, don't they? I mean, they don't care if it's illegal. They don't care if they get sued, because they just do what they do. They're just petulant children, especially the giant man baby in charge. So I want to talk a little bit more about the trolls that came into my community feed last week and over the weekend. You know, I responded to them, and one of them responded to me, and it's just so creepy that the gaslighting is so creepy. And the way these people, or socks, as I call them, sock accounts, like, they're not authentic, they're just out with an agenda. They're trying to get under your skin. They're trying to insult you, humiliate you, embarrass you, and, you know, weaponize Jesus. Why don't you? Because, you know, that's very biblical to weaponize God. Yeah. It's crazy. Anyway, I've appreciated the back and forth because it is good for my algorithm. So I'm not complaining. I'm just wanting to discuss. And that's what's important with trolls, is you don't want to block them. Like, I was in a What's the Obsession chat last night, and I'm pretty sure that we had a phenomenal troll in there that played a very big part in real life of the Watts case. You certainly don't want to block them. You want to keep them talking, right? Absolutely. So I will confess to you guys that I did watch more of the Foxy Noxy. I hate to say it. I hate to admit it. But if you say Meredith Kircher, unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize who it is that you're talking about. But if you say Foxy Noxy, they know. that horrible case in Italy, the girl from Seattle that was convicted twice of slaughtering her roommate. And she was sprung twice, but she wasn't exonerated. She was certainly not exonerated. She was just sprung twice, as was her boyfriend. So, her boyfriend, Scolito, Raffaele Scolito, I think that's not how you say his name. Close though. Raphael, something like Scolito. He comes from an Italian family that is very well connected with basically like mobster ties and attorneys. And interestingly enough, Miss Amanda also has family with attorney ties. So she has an uncle, I'm not sure if it's on her mom's side or her dad's side, who has a law firm or had a law firm back then in 2007 in Seattle. And she went to, or I said Seattle, Germany. She was from Seattle. So she went from Seattle to Italy for her year abroad. But then for 6 weeks, she was doing an internship at her uncle's law firm in Germany. Sorry for the slip of the tongue. So she went to do that internship. However, she didn't really do the internship, allegedly, kind of Amanda style. She just hung out and partied and did her thing. So this special on Hulu that she helped produce is called The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. And it's really like a little pity party, like, oh, poor me. Look how mean they were to me in Italy. They were just bullying me. Fred, what's up, dude? How are you? Thanks for coming in and saying hi. So do you have Hulu? Or did you watch the Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, or are you interested in that case? Because it's a case that I have been interested in since it happened. And I always fell for the crap that she was like misunderstood and mistreated and scapegoated. And I don't believe that that's the case at all. Not at all. And this little special, not interested. Okay, well, we can talk about Kylie in just a second. I'll just finish up my thought with that since you're the only one here conversing with me. This little special, The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, and it is a lot like the Kylie case in that there was a lot of jealousy and competition and, a female villain, I think, help with a handful of guys, kind of like a party situation, although it wasn't really a party with Amanda Knox and Meredith Kircher. But anyway, I was just going to finish up my thought about it and then talk more about something that you are interested in, Fred, out of respect for you and your time. The thing about the special on Hulu is, A, why don't we have Kylie Rodney specials on Hulu, please? Hello. And then B, it's a 4-part miniseries. At this point in time, there's only the first 2 parts that have been released. Later this week, the 3rd part is released. And then next week, I think part 4 is released. And what I'm hoping in the release of this little mini series is that rather than getting the sympathy that she thinks she's deserving of, is that it's going to backfire and blow up in her face, and that people are going to realize, let her keep talking, because she is outing herself. She's trying to basically mansplain away all of the points of contention that law enforcement had a list against her, their laundry list. And basically her whole defense is just like, I'm weird. I'm just not like other people. I laugh at funerals, and I like to walk around my school campus and pretend that I'm an elephant. And I like to carry a dildo around on my keychain because, I'm just weird. And a lot of people get creeped out by me because I have 0 social skills. It's like, okay, yeah, it still doesn't explain what happened that night. Just like people trying to explain away what happened that night with Kylie Rodney. So I really do want to talk about Kylie Rodney's case with you, Fred, if you are still here and still interested. I'm thinking more and more, tell me what you think about this, that the car show that was happening over there in Reno, that Kylie's mother said she was planning to attend with her that night, the same car show that that other couple that went missing was also at. The car show, the last night of it was August 5th of 2022. And so allegedly Kylie had already been there earlier in the week and she was planning on going back that night. And then at the last minute, she decided not to because she decided to go to this, I don't know what you'd call it, Lord of the Flies party with her frenemies instead, right? And the car show, I really got to thinking about it more in depth over the weekend, and just like how kind of back in the day you used to always have the hot chicks sitting on the cars and showing the cars. You didn't have a car without a showgirl, right? Sort of like the females probably still do that on The Price is Right. I'm not sure. I haven't watched that show in a while. But you know what I mean. Just these models basically that are doing the thing with their hand, showing the car, maybe getting in the car and waving out the window. And wasn't it at that casino resort, the Sierra, what is it called? I looked it up last show, I think. The really big casino resort there. I think it's called Sierra, right? Sierra Casino Reno Grand. I knew it was a word like mega, something big. So the Grand Sierra Resort, which I don't know if that place plays a role in what had happened with Kylie the night that she allegedly disappeared or not. But the whole point of the car show maybe being code for this whole transporting thing, transportation, that word traffic, cars. I don't know. Do you think that's a stretch, Fred? Do you have any thoughts on that? I'll give you a second. I'll drink my coffee real quick. My tiny cup of coffee. And did you have a good weekend? I had a pretty good weekend. It's nice here. I'm just like 2 states away from you. Here we are getting lovely fall weather. I hope that you are too, because it's so nice when the humidity's not making it all sticky, and it's just much more comfortable to do your yard work and such. I know you were suffering through some yard work in the heat a week ago. I waited until this weekend when things had cooled down and got a ton done. But yeah, it's just like endless, isn't it? We just have like not even a quarter acre, probably. We just have like a regular size plot that our house is on in a suburban kind of neighborhood. So, I mean, it's a lot to take care of. It is. I understand now why some people want to live in apartment buildings and condominiums. And, the one thing I can't understand is just the letting it go to hell in a handbasket. And most cities have laws against that anyway, but I just can't even understand why anybody would want that. I mean, I guess if you don't have the time to put into it and you don't have the money to hire somebody else, but it's such a relaxing hobby. I mean, I used to pay my kids to do it. My mother did it. I don't have any of that anymore, but I've kind of gotten addicted to it. I like doing it. So it's good exercise too. Nice way to be outside and be productive at the same time. So, it is very interesting not only do we have the victims that are going to be testifying to Congress on September 3rd. Oh, good. We have a comment from Fred. We also have Virginia Giuffre has a memoir. Did you know this, Fred? Are you interested in the Trumpstein files? Virginia Giuffre has a memoir that she wrote over the last few years of her life, that in her will, she wanted it to be published so that the truth could be out there. Oh my goodness. I can't wait. I can't wait. But it is interesting that she just happened to be not alive anymore right in time for Jiz to come out and be interviewed and tell her crazy story about how nothing ever happened that was ever inappropriate for anybody. And certainly not with anyone underage, but even with people of age, everything was fine. It was all consensual. It's all good. It is a possibility, but I think Kylie had that rumored fight with mom and told her friend she was leaving town. Mom probably told the powers that be, and she was persuaded to go to the party. I think that's a pretty solid theory, Fred. I'd have to agree with the high probability of your possibility that you lay out there. Yeah, I mean, Lindsay put out in some of her earliest statements to the news media that she was really sorry to Kylie, right? But, the more I think about all of her news media pleas and interviews, they were all just off, weren't they? Every single one of them. Every single one of them was just not quite right. That's what happens when you're lying. I think that her mother was lying about maybe a little bit of it, maybe all of it. I mean, that's the problem when somebody's lying, is you don't necessarily know which part of the truth they bent, because they usually try to tell some of the truth so that it fits in with some of the known facts, right? But yeah, I do think that there was the fight with Scammy out there in the woods at the Lord of the Flies party. And I also think that Reno plays a great part in the whole story, And then Check It TV, man. I haven't thought about him in a long time. Somebody brought him up last week, I think, or the week before that. So Check It TV, SF Investigates, and Zanime. Were there any other really oddball characters? Well, there was the Charlie with the last name. What was Charlie's last name? The fella who was transgender and hard of hearing, and he had cancer, and he was Xanime's friend that she allegedly went to visit. He was, I think, like 31, early 30s at the time of the incident. Charlie Holderman. Yeah. I was thinking Birkenhold. Charlie Holderman. That was the individual's name. So he had really dark hair, and I remember seeing him like walking through the crowd. He really stood out like a sore thumb. Like he didn't fit with the rest of that teenage Tahoe crowd. But he seemed very integral to the whole story, especially when we found out that he was allegedly Xanime's friend that she was visiting, that she just happened to be there, so she thought she'd go look for Kylie in that arrow in the sand. But then the thing that I brought up last week, Fred, about Nate Wu changing his profile picture to Red Flag Ronnie's picture on Facebook, August 9th. 2021, an entire 12 months before Kylie went missing. And he had left that profile picture of Red Flag Ronnie as his profile picture on his Facebook account for at least about a year after Kylie's disappearance. Like that can't be random. Nate Wu, being the son of Wayne Wu, who had just been sworn in as sheriff like 10 days before Kylie went missing. 10 days. It's weird how when there's these changing of the guards is when the crimes seem to happen. Like in Hawaii, they had like a new mayor, a new-ish governor, I think that Governor Green, I think, was kind of new, but the mayor was really new, and then the police chief in Maui was pretty new. And when the Maui fires happened, and then with the Idaho 4, you had Chief Small Fry's wife, Julie Fry, had just won the election for becoming the clerk of courts for Kootenai County a handful of days before the Idaho 4 happened. And man, that Idaho 4 case, it should be put to rest at this point, right? With the sentencing. Well, did the sentencing happen in that one, or is that coming up in October? The sentencing hearing for Koberger. I'm not even sure. Like, I'm not really watching that case, but I do see that there's like more and more coming out with it. Even Paula Plunder, I think, just had a video about it today, which I was almost tempted to watch, but I just can't with the Idaho 4. There's someone else in the Idaho 4 who had just gotten sworn into their position that I found out about more recently, right before that happened. And who was it? I mean, we had a lot of changing of the guards in that Idaho 4 case with Chief Jenkins, who'd been the police chief in Pullman PD, who then went over to Wazoo because their entire command staff had been jettisoned because of the sexcapades of one of the sergeants. And then that sergeant, I think is his name Matt Kurt. That sergeant resigned November 4th. Maybe that's what it is that I'm thinking about. He resigned November 4th. And then Julie Fry won her election November 8th. And then the slaughter happened November 13th. Same year as Kylie Rodney, 2022. And then, I think his name was Matthew Kurt with a K. Kurht, something like that. Anyway, so he got his entire command staff fired. But the reason that I bring it up is that they tried to pretend like Koberger had a lot of retribution from losing his job at the university, which I don't think he'd lost his job at the university until he'd been arrested. But Matthew Kurt lost his job. He was forced to resign, basically. And all of his supervisors, the captain, the chief, and the assistant chief, they all lost their jobs too. The irony being that when Jenkins came over to be the interim chief, he had a very similar situation of sexcapades with one of his officers that had even gone to trial. And in that account of what allegedly happened to that victim, that student that was 18 years old, Matthew Kurt had even been involved with it. And I always forget that officer's name, that sergeant from Pullman PD. I want to say it was Brent. And sometimes I can just find it pretty quickly. just in case anybody is interested. Let's see. Pullman PD. Hopefully he's the only Pullman PD sergeant with an SA, right? He'll probably pull up half a dozen. It's not even funny. Oh, goodness. Pullman police chief resigns amidst sexual assault allegations, March 28th, 2025, Pullman, Washington. Pullman police chief Jake Opgenorth resigned Friday. Man, I'm going to have to check that out. That's nuts. I knew it. I knew that I'd find more crap. So yeah, this was Brett Hargraves, was the guy who Jenkins was supervising when Hargraves and Matthew Kurt assaulted that 18-year-old together. And that went to trial, and there was a hung jury, and the poor victim was too traumatized to go back to square one and do the whole trial again. But this is wild. So I wonder if this Chief Jake Opgenorth was the person who replaced Jenkins. Because remember, Koberger interviewed at Pullman PD. Nobody wants to talk about that. Oh, and there was something that I wanted to read to you guys, but now I'm really interested in this. I'm just going to read it quickly. I'll read it out loud and your comments here. Wasn't mom part of the women's side of the cult that Kylie might have threatened to expose? Brian pled guilty and was sentenced to life as a plea bargain. Okay, so he was already sentenced, right? I knew he didn't get the death penalty, but I wasn't sure. In one of the major cases, I think there's a sentencing coming up in October. Do you know which one that is, Fred? But thank you so much for the tip. This is interesting. Stop. Pullman Police Chief Jake Opgenorth resigned Friday afternoon. This was like 5 months ago, with his resignation taking effect immediately. Opgenorth, who served as chief since August of 2022. Yeah, so that would have been at the same time that Jenkins parted ways to go hold down the fort for WSU, Washington State University. And then he was interim chief. I think he was then appointed to be the regular chief. But anyway, so you had Opgenorth, something like that, who had stepped in for Jenkins. This is wild. He had been on administrative leave since December 17th of 2024 amid allegations of SA and harassment. Opgenorth's former girlfriend filed a protection order against him in February alleging harassment and SA. In court documents, she states she and Opgenorth had been in a relationship for several years. A Whitman County judge recently denied the protection order, citing insufficient evidence. Oh, that's vile. Filed for a protection order against him, and then she was not granted a protection order. That is so scary. Protection orders are almost always granted. But it makes him look bad, right? It makes the whole law enforcement practice look bad. Opgenorth, who had been with the Pullman Police Department for 29 years, has denied the allegations. Commander Aaron Breshears continues to serve as acting police chief until a new appointment is made. The city will provide further details on the transition soon. Whoa, that is messed up. That is so sad that, I mean, it reminds me of like Drew Peterson, the police officer there from your neck of the woods, Fred, that unalived at least one wife of his, if not two or more. I don't know. I know for sure the one that he's in jail for. Are you familiar with that case? And then Stacy Peterson is his other wife that he, in my opinion, definitely unalived, but she's just missing. And that's just so sad. I think Maddie Soto trial for her death is in the fall. Yeah, I think you're right, Fred. I think that's the one. Stefan pled guilty on porn charges, I believe. Yeah, that is such a vile case. That is such a vile case. Absolutely disgusting. Again, it's just too much for me to focus on that one. That kind of child rape. Unbelievable. And it looks like there's information maybe surfacing that she actually was pregnant. I always believed that from the get-go, that was probably why they thought they had to solve their problem, they being the mother and the boyfriend, by doing that. Unbelievable. So yeah, I don't know if you're following that case, Fred, and I know that Ninja was following it. I am aware of Peterson case casually. Yeah, there's been a lot of documentaries about the Drew Peterson case. So he's still in jail. He's quite a piece of work. Stacy Peterson's sister, she, they just had the two sisters, and I think her name's Cassandra. It's very, very sad. I mean, she's been fighting so hard. And again, I think there's a resistance with law enforcement to solve the case because it makes law enforcement look bad that he was working as a police officer when he unalived the one wife in the bathtub and then probably unalived Stacy Peterson too, still working as law enforcement. It's crazy. Absolutely insane. And then you've got that one in Massachusetts with Sandra Birchmore. I keep wondering what's going on with that, and Matthew Farwell, because it wasn't just him, it was that whole freaking department that she started volunteering for as an explorer when she was 12 years old. So she started volunteering in the police department, doing ride-alongs when she was 12. She was 4'10". She might have even been shorter back then, because 4'10" was, I'm pretty sure, how tall she was when she passed away in her early 20s, and when she was unalived by the boyfriend that allegedly impregnated her. And that case makes the whole department look bad, because what are they going to do? Are they going to charge everybody in the department with statutory? They should. I mean, that's what's so upsetting about the whole thing with the Trumpstein files, is that they want to pin everything on little e, and then, oh, he's deceased, so let the whole thing just like dry up and go away. And it's just not that easy. It's not sorry, my phone is ringing and I just want to make it stop. There we go. It's very convenient when the one person that they want to place all the blame on is not alive anymore. And same thing with Virginia Giuffre being not alive anymore. And, they are hoping that the whole case will just pass away with the people that are not alive, and the case hopefully won't. I mean, overall, I'd say that that's exactly how a lot of cases are resolved, that cases get pinned on one person, your fall guy, and then the fall guy, offed themselves in jail again, right? Jean-Luc Brunel. So I do have a very, very interesting article that I want to share with you, Fred. And sorry that my brain's not working too well. I've got one puppy dog in the house. I've got a couple of fans going, but I'm wondering if I should turn another fan on. It's kind of warm and it's kind of hard to concentrate when it's so warm. Let me see if I can do this without messing things up, and then I'll read your comment too. But there's a very interesting post that a friend of mine sent me about the Trumpstein files. So let's see, as long as the noise of this fan doesn't interfere with the mic, it might if I have it right here. If I have it on this table, it kind of is, maybe. I hear it rattling. I don't even have to ask. Let's see if I set it down here, maybe. Why does it have to rattle? Can you hear that? I'm just going to go with it unless you tell me it's too disruptive or something. Laters, I need to go to the hardware store. Oh, well, you're going to miss the part. So the part that I was going to read, but that's all right. Yes, you go to the hardware store. To the one that you work at or a different one? Let's see. Thanks for being here, Fred. Have a great day. So this is from the Facebook. It's about Melania, who was a model and an immigrant. And now she's married to our president. And she was the first model to sign up for his modeling agency when he created his own modeling agency. I think that was 1999. She was the first model to sign up. Isn't that cute? Melania Trump began her modeling career in Europe, working with Karen Models in Paris, an agency run by Jean-Luc Brunel, who's also no longer with us. He was also Epsteined. Brunel would later be accused of transporting young women through MC2 model management, which was financially backed by Little E. Both men are now deceased. Brunel found hanging in a French prison in 2022. Epstein in a New York jail cell in 2019. So Brunel passed away the same year that Ivana passed away, and the same year that Jiz was tried and sentenced for her crimes. You know, the ones that she's being sprung for now, basically. The ones that she's trying to get pardoned for. And for all practical purposes, she is getting pardoned, it looks like. Maybe not on paper, but pretty much, and maybe on paper too. We've yet to see. Nothing would surprise me with these freaks. Anyway, they're passing away, officially ruled self-unalivings, silenced key witnesses in one of the most sprawling transporting networks ever exposed. So remember, the X transporting network still exists. It's just that two of its players are not part of it anymore, but they certainly weren't the only two. So here's Paola Zampoli, a Trump associate who ran Metropolitan Models in New York, facilitated Melania's entry into the U.S. modeling scene. Zampoli claimed Melania had sufficient tear sheets to qualify for an H-1B visa. However, her own account suggests she may have worked in the U.S. before securing proper documentation, raising questions about visa misuse, which is just so ironic that this is Trumpster Fire's like cornerstone of his entire presidency and campaigning, right? Getting the illegals out, which is a terrible thing to call a person. I mean, before her visa approval, she modeled for Camel cigarettes in Times Square and appeared in nude photo shoots for Max magazine. She later became affiliated with Trumpstein Model Management, an agency founded by Donnie, Trumpster fire, that is known for recruiting foreign models under controversial visa practices. Isn't that interesting? Interesting that his entire modeling agency was known for that, recruiting foreign models under controversial visa practices. Little E's network included MC2 Model Management, which he helped fund with up to $1 million. The agency was a rebranding of Brunel's earlier U.S. venture, Karen Models of America. Little E and Brunel targeted Eastern European models, often recruiting through agencies like One Mother Agency in Kyiv. Virginia Gouffre, one of Little E's accusers, stated that Brunel was among the men she was directed to have X with by Jiz Max. During the late 90s and early 2000s, Mar-a-Lago was a social hub for Trumpster fire, Little E, and other high-profile figures. Little E was a club member, and Zampoli frequently attended events there. Mar-a-Lago was described as a glitzy entertainment venue with lax vetting standards, often hosting parties that drew in modeling talent and media elites. The overlap between Melania's modeling trajectory, Little E's recruitment pipeline, and Mar-a-Lago's social ecosystem suggests a convergence of spectacle, power, and exploitation. While no direct evidence has surfaced linking Melania to Little E's trafficking operations, the proximity of her career path to known exploitative networks warrants deeper scrutiny. Two of the central figures in this narrative, Little E and Jean-Luc Brunel, are now deceased. Their absence leaves gaps in testimony, but their documented actions remain. The system they helped build continues to operate, reshaped but not dismantled. Passing away in this case is not closure, it's camouflage. Is that so brilliant? Anna Bees, you're here just in time. I was just ready to throw in the towel, seriously. Yeah, Fred had to run. And how are you, my dear? How was your weekend? Because, yeah, we're getting close to 50 minutes, and I was thinking, heck, if I'm here all alone, I might just wrap up. But I'll stay talking about the stuff, the freaking crying victim, playing victims, the perps that always want to play the victims. Jiz, such a victim. Foxy Noxie's such a victim. Just a victim of circumstance. And then Christy Nome, another victim. So sad. So sad. So it's come to my attention. I've been doing a ton of research about how did Melania and her Trumpster fire meet, right? How did they meet? When did they meet? The alleged story that they tried to pass off is that they met at the Kit Kat Club, which is still a really skanky way for a president to meet his first lady. Like, seriously? So Tony Soprano. Anyway, so yeah, they met at the Kit Kat Club in New York, allegedly, in like 1998 or 1999. And then they got married around 2005. I think that Barron was born in 2006. I think he was born more than a year after they got married, allegedly, if his birthday is accurate. Sometimes people lie about that kind of stuff. But it's been public, it's been public knowledge for a while that Melania and Trumpster Fire consummated their relationship on Lolita Express. And then there's a lot of speculation that they actually met through Little E and Jizz, right? And the more digging that I do, the more likely that seems. And then over the last couple of weeks, there's been chatter about that Little E and Melania had conjugal, how come I can't say that word? Conjugal relations prior to her hopping in the sack with Donnie, right? Which makes perfect sense. I mean, those two douchebags were complete hounds, and she was a very attractive young woman. My question is, how young was she when they bagged her? Because we know that Little E wasn't much interested in people over the age of 22. From all of the victims that I've read about or heard them on videos talking about being victimized by him, I think the oldest that I've seen is 22 years old. No, actually, Maria Farmer might have been 25, right? And then her little sister was 16. Her little sister was like almost 10 years younger than her. But apparently Maria Farmer looked really young. Donnie thought she was 16 when he went over to Little E's office and was staring at her legs, and Little E reportedly said, she's not here for you, to Don, and then kind of motioned Don to a different room, and then he went away. And Maria Farmer has put that interaction, that really sketchy interaction, she's put it on the official record. She believes that there was a 16-year-old in the other room that Donnie came to the office for, that he was summoned to the office for. And this was like 9:00 at night. So that's Maria's story. And that he said to her, well, you look 16 or something like that, but maybe the lighting wasn't that good in the room. I don't know. I mean, a lot of young women, like teenagers and young women, a lot of times it's hard to tell the exact age. And I've looked at a ton of photographs of Melania where she's with Trump, and she looks to me like she's under age. She doesn't look like she's in her 20s. She looks really, really young. But that might just be that she looked young. But I'm researching because I really wonder. I really wonder what age exactly was it that Trumpster Fire first got his paws on her. And, she just happens to be the first model that he signed up for his agency in 1999, I think that was. But he married Ivana in 1977, I think. And then 1987, I believe, is when he may or may not have officially, allegedly become affiliated with being an asset. Basically, we'll just leave it at that. And then, Melania was born in 71, I think, 1971. So in 1987, she would have been 16 years old. And her modeling career really took off when she was 16. She'd been modeling since she was 5. And most places says she'd been modeling since she was 16. But no, she became very marketable at 16. So how did she become marketable after 11 years of modeling already? And I've known very successful models living in Southern California that had many stories to tell, but it's suspicious to me. It piques my imagination that she became so successful at age 16, especially being that around the age of 14 seems to be the, shall we say, drug of choice for little E. He really seemed to have a thing for uh, early adolescence, right? Like almost tween. It's terrible. But I'm just very suspicious of how long Donnie and Melania knew each other before he signed her on to be his first model with his modeling agency, and why it's such a sensitive topic when anybody brings up Melania and little E in the same sentence and she tries to slap them with lawsuits and get them to take down their videos. I probably don't have to worry about that because I'm such a tiny channel, but if I do, bring it on, baby. It'll make me feel special. Yeah, funny, not funny, right? I worked all weekend, but it was good. Well, I'm glad that you had a good weekend, Anna Bees. I agree, it's still skanky. It is so skanky. Like, oh yeah. And if that's if that's the story that they're selling to the public, you can only imagine what the actual story is. I mean, the way my husband and I met was kind of curious, and we have the version that we tell our kids, and then the version that we tell other people. Because it was a little skanky, like not too skanky, but it was a little shifty. I'll share since I brought it up. I don't like to share too much personal stuff, but it is funny. So yeah, it's not the version that we're going to tell the kids that I was stopping by my friend's apartment and he was living at my friend's apartment, a different guy, but the friend wasn't there, but he was with another woman. And when he opened the door, when I knocked on the door, it was like love at first sight, two-way street. And then she came out from behind him after we were talking for like 5 minutes when she realized what was going on. Like, hey, what happened to my man? He's taking a really long time talking to that woman at the door that came for the roommate that's not even here. So yeah, it was kind of a one night stand that had lasted a few days, and so that's how I met him. Was I interrupted their one night stand that lasted a few days. So that was embarrassing. We didn't get together for another month, but then it was probably like a year later that we ran into her at the movies, and I was so embarrassed. I felt really bad. But she was cool. I mean, my husband and her spoke while we were waiting in line at the movie theater, and I just kept looking away, acting like I didn't know what was going on. And they continued to interact for like entirely too long, so it was very, very awkward. But anyway, there's some details that I'm leaving out that I wouldn't put on YouTube, and those are most of the details I wouldn't share with the kids either. He was almost naked when I met him there. He was wearing a necklace and some biking shorts. That was it. That's all I'm saying. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I agree, it's still skanky. I'm sorry to be mean, but that boy got hit with the ugly stick. Which boy? Are you talking about Donnie? Because, yeah, I agree. Definitely got hit with the ugly stick. And, yeah, for somebody like Melania to marry him. I mean, Ivana and Marla Maples, they were both extremely attractive women. But Melania is kind of next level. So it's pretty suspicious that she's with a disgusting old freak like him who was like beaten within an inch of his life by an ugly stick, right? Man, speaking of which, he does not look like he's going to last much longer, Anna Bees. Those bruises on the back of his hands, remember how we talked about it not that long ago? And now more people are talking about it. How whenever he's sitting there at the Resolute desk, he always has the left hand covering the right hand. And now there's like those weird pasty, almost skin color bandages or makeup smeared on the back of his hand. Like, and I think it's on both hands actually. But yeah, he is looking like crap. His cankles are more swollen than ever. Over the weekend, when he was in the Oval Office without a tie and his shirt unbuttoned and his MAGA hat that said Trump was right about everything, that was weird to be in the Oval Office with the MAGA hat and without a tie. That was really weird. It makes me think that he just couldn't wear a tie because whatever's going on medically, that it just wasn't comfortable to have something like that around his neck. I mean, he looked way too casual, in my opinion. And he's just getting way more loosey-goosey. Like, he just doesn't give a flying F about anything except war. You know, if he can create a war, then there's a nice big distraction. And then he can be president forever. Oh, martial law, right? Yeah, you're so mean, Annabise. Little T looks worse than usual from what I saw in the video that I've had it showed today. Yeah. LOL. And yeah, I am thinking I might wrap up soon just because it is kind of warm in here. I don't have good temperature control going on right now. Little T and Melanoma's son. Oh, yeah. Well, at least he got half of his looks from Melania, from melanoma, right? But yeah, he's a little awkwardly tall, you might say. I think he's 6'9". And if he played basketball or volleyball, he could put that to good use, but I don't know that he's doing anything like that. I doubt it because, you know, sports are hard. And when you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, why would you need to do anything hard? Oh man. So I was watching Political Punk. Have you heard of this channel, Annabise? I'm kind of new to it. And I'll put a link in the description to one of these videos that I was watching last night that he was talking about Ghislaine. Oh, he had some excerpts from the transcript of her conversation with Todd Blanche and some of the excerpts that other people aren't talking about. So she was talking about massage therapists and how, you know, nobody ever did anything inappropriate and that they just had a lot of massage therapists around because little E liked new massage therapists and that she had a lot of massage therapists herself. So when she found a massage therapist that she liked, she would give him the massage therapist's information. Although she probably called them masseuses, right? Because we know that that's where that whole thing goes. I call them massage therapists because in my world, massage therapists are excellent medical practitioners, basically, like physical therapists, like occupational therapists, like chiropractors and like doctors. But anyway, back to the point about her stating in her conversation with Todd Blanche that she was involved in a lot of high risk sports. And so she got terribly injured all the time, which is why she always had massage therapists. And it's just so funny how when people are lying and they continue to bury themselves in more lies and more lies. Like I know that she was a very athletic person and that she worked out a lot so she could stay super skinny so that she could try to get little E's attention so she could compete with the teenagers to get him to look at her. But I just thought it was hilarious that she's like, oh, I do some very dangerous sports. And I'm constantly getting injured. And she goes on to say, again, I'll put the link in the description. She goes on to say, injured very badly. And that the only reason she can walk without a gimp is because of all the wonderful masseuses that she employs. It's just like, OMG, girl, give it up. I don't feel too bad talking about their son because I've heard he's a terrible person. Annabise, he was friends with the Tate brothers. So, yeah, that kind of tells me everything I need to know right there because they're hideous. And his daddy let them back into the country. Yeah, because random 14, 16-year-olds are massage therapists. Exactly, Annabise. And unlicensed masseuses are not masseuses, right? Jiz is not an attractive woman. Well, and again, I think she could be if she was a nice person, but she's so disgusting. I mean, it's so demented how these whack jobs psychopathology is like extremely hurtful towards everyone around them, which is typical with somebody with a personality disorder. When you're around somebody with a personality disorder, it is very painful to be in a relationship, even if it's just a casual relationship, like a work relationship or like an acquaintance rather than a friend. People with personality disorders are miserable, and misery loves company, and they will manipulate you to try to get you to feel the pain that they feel. And personality disorders stem from not getting consistent parenting, basically, from not getting your needs met by a stable and consistent caregiver. So in Jiz's case, I think she was the youngest of like 9, maybe even 10. I know that one of her siblings passed away young, but she was the baby of a very large family. So I don't know what the story is with her mother. Like, you don't really hear about her mother too often. You just hear about her disgusting father, and we all know what a piece of work he was. And he is how she met little E. So her dad, Robert Maxwell, and little E were in the same line of apprenticeship or, basically being spies, let's just say. We'll just use that word. Allegedly, perhaps. So yeah, being assets basically. And then like Donnie, his dad was really mean and his mom was really ill. And I think he was one of 7, if I'm remembering right. I forget how many siblings. I was talking about that the other day, so let me see if I can find out on the Google. Brothers and sisters. He's like one of 5 or one of 7. I guess he's one of 5. So you have Robert Trump, Elizabeth, Marianne, and Fred Jr. So Robert would be Mary Trump's dad. And then Fred Trump Jr. was the one that Trumpster Fire employed briefly after his 3 executives passed away in that unfortunate helicopter crash in 1989. Oh, but I did want to, so he's one of 5. Is he the baby? I don't know. Let's see if it'll say here. So he's one of 5, and then he has 5 kids. Yeah, I don't think that he's the youngest, but I'll look more into that later. It's not so interesting. what was it that I was trying to say? Let me see what you're saying, Annabise. I guess you could say that her dad groomed her to be always begging for scraps. Well, and people like herself again try to play on other people's sympathy that she only treated little E that way because her father raised her to believe that you were always supposed to meet a man's needs. And it's like, that doesn't explain why she was such a menace to society and destroyed so many people's lives, in my opinion. Anyway, what I was saying, I wanted to correct myself. When Ivana was assaulted by Trumpster Fire, that was only a month or two after the helicopter crash, because the helicopter crashed in October of 1989, the one with the 3 executives from Trumpster Fire's Atlantic City Taj Mahal businesses. And it was October 10th, 1989. And the trip that she took with her friend, and I wrote the friend's name down, and I think they were going to Bali. I said Indonesia. No, where was it? Tahiti? They were going to Tahiti. And what is the name? I know I wrote it down. But will I find it? I will not find it. Lauren Edis. So yeah, it was Tahiti. And the book that she wrote where she talked about the assault is called The Lost Tycoon. I think I did mention that. But then Ivana was the vice president for the Atlantic City casinos. I knew that, but I'd forgotten. And right after her divorce from the Trumpster Fire, her father suddenly passed away from a heart attack. Her father was also an agent, not for the KBG, but for the STB. So interesting that he all of a sudden died of a heart attack right after the divorce. Because I think that her father and the Trumpster Fire were pretty tight. I mean, they were probably in business together, right? I think that was kind of Donnie's introduction to it, maybe. Oh my goodness, wait a second. There's so much more craziness that I had found before the weekend after I made my last video. Let me see if I can decipher some of these notes. I don't think I talked about why Trump can't shut up. But again, we don't want him to, because the more he talks, the more he lets his secrets out, right? And so there's somebody, Bryn Musk is Big E's brother, right? Bryn Musk, who I think one of them, either the Big E or Bryn, had an affair with somebody named Nicole Sheehan. And Nicole Sheehan was RFK Jr.'s running mate last year when he was on the ticket for the 2024 campaign. So Nicole Sheehan is an investment cornerstone of a research company that is exploring lengthening the human reproduction lifespan. If that's not spooky, I don't know what is. But yeah, it was getting really wild, and I was trying to take notes, and I'm sorry that I'm having trouble deciphering my notes. So RFK Jr.'s running mate was that Nicole Sheehan that I think the Big E had an affair with her. Oh, maybe Bryn Sheehan was her husband, right? Let me look that up real quick. Because Elon's brother's name is Kimball. And let's see. Bryn Sheehan. Because, yeah, I'd never heard about this Nicole Sheehan and RFK and all that stuff. I was, like I said, furiously trying to take notes so that I could follow what they were talking about, but I was having a really hard time following because it was just kind of going so fast and it was all brand new to me. Bryn Sheehan. So I think that Bryn Sheehan, let me see if what I'm saying is accurate. Yeah, this company in Minnesota. Okay. BRYNNSHEEHAN, Strategy and Operations Manager at York Solutions, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Responsible for engaging IT with Fortune 100 companies. And is it the same? Huh. Let's see. Bryn and Nicole. I'll have to look it up later. So she was a philanthropist picked by RFK Jr. She was married to Google co-founder Sergey Brin. Okay, now it's coming back to me. So Brin was the guy's last name. Sorry about all that. From 2018 to 2023, and they had a young daughter. So Nicole Shanahan, SHANAHAN. So she was married to Sergey Brin for 5 years. He was the co-founder of Google. And then she cheated on him with the Big E, allegedly. So yeah, forget what I was saying about Bryn Sheehan. That's somebody totally different. Absolutely different. Crossing my wires. Anyway, I'm glad that I figured that out. So it's not Sheehan anyway. With Nicole, it's Shanahan. And then her husband was Sergey Brin, the guy who co-founded Google. So when she divorced him after she cheated on him with the Big E, she became a billionaire in her own right. And then she had that company that was studying and is probably still studying the human reproductive lifespan lengthening, which to me is just really creepy. Like, I mean, I guess if you're having fertility issues or if you just want to have a ton of kids, that's something that people would want. But it's like, I just don't think you should mess with nature like that. The human reproduction lifespan is what it is, you know? It's creepy trying to mess with it. Um, so the big E tries to say that he didn't really know Jizz and the little E that well, but the photos that you see of him with Jizz are just Jizz photobombing him, trying to act like she knew him. Hilarious. So what's really great about Jizz and her 3-hour interview with Todd Blanche is that she directly contradicted some things that Elon has said and that Trumpster Fire has said. She's directly contradicted. And maybe I have that in my notes. What those, yeah, right here. She contradicted Trumpster Fire's story about Mar-a-Lago, about how Donnie was complaining about, his people getting stolen from his spa. She contradicted that completely. And then she also contradicted what Musk said about the photobombing because she said they were friends. So, yeah, I'm just kind of scattered. I apologize, my dear. What are you saying? Palantir is Peter Thiel's company. I'm sure Palantir is somehow involved in that company. I guess you could say that her dad groomed her. Yeah. Yeah, Peter Thiel, man. These people are so freaky. These billionaires are so freaky, and their desire to manipulate, like, mortality. Like they think that they can adjust mortality so that you don't have to be mortal if you have enough money. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's where it's really like a cult, that kind of unrealistic, other world kind of crap. Okay, so we know that Virginia was transported by Ron Eppinger when she was 14. I did not know the exact age that she was transported at. So Ron Eppinger was another asshat with a modeling agency in Miami who transported her from an apartment or from a hotel in Miami, I think for about 6 months. I think that was prior to when she ran away and then was homeless before getting the job at Mar-a-Lago and then getting snatched up by Jizz and Little E. But how many people did Jizz and Little E trap on that island, Little E Island? And did they have, like, in those quote unquote lairs underground, did they have like bunkers underground that they had these ex-slaves living in? Because I remember hearing a story about one of the women getting assaulted and she tried to escape by swimming off the island. And I don't think that was Sarah Ransom, although it might have been. Poor Virginia. I know. It's awful. So yeah, Virginia was initially violated by a close family friend, I think it was, when she was 7. I don't think it was a family member. I think it was a close family friend. And then that happened when she was 14. And then she ran away. But she was living in California when she was 12, I want to say, too. I mean, she had a really troubled life, basically. I mean, she was exposed to way too much, way too early, and she survived it all. That's why I have a lot of trouble believing the timing of her self-unaliving and the extremely suspicious circumstances of her unaliving. just that whole thing with like her weird post and saying that she had 4 days to live and getting hit by a bus. I mean, the whole thing was very far-fetched, and it just didn't make sense. None of it made sense. So I think she was taken out of the picture to clear the way for Jiz to do her little thing with Todd Blanche, literally. And again, going back to when it happened, which was April 25th, April 24th, 25th. I think that they suspected it happened on the 24th and she was discovered on the 25th. And then the 26th, I think, was Melania's 55th birthday when her and Donnie went to the Pope's funeral. And Donnie was questioned on the tarmac by an investigative journalist that said, you know, do you have anything to say about Virginia Giuffre? And without hesitating, he just said, oh yeah, it's very sad for her and other people like her. And it was just like, how did he know who she was? How did he know what happened to her? You know, when there's things that he should know and he says, I don't know anything about it. Like, yeah, I'm in charge of everything. I'm in charge of the world. And I could have ordered it. The thing with John Bolton last week, but I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I know nothing about it. Cray. So yeah, I am going to go ahead and wrap up, my dear. If there's anything you want to say, I'll look over my notes one more time. Yeah, it didn't make sense. Exactly. And that's the thing, is that, you know, just like the story with when I broke the window on my daughter's car. I couldn't come up with a story that would make sense, so I just told the actual story about trying to put furniture in there when it didn't fit. So, yeah, Maxwell actually tried to say in her 3-hour interview with Todd Blanche that she didn't know little E very well, that she was just his employee. Is that effing funny? Not funny? Like, that's just crazy. Absolutely insane. And did you know that Trumpster Fire wanted to be the governor of New York City in 2013? I did not know this. He had Michael Cohen sent back to prison in 2020. Man, I mean, Michael Cohen is always going to be an asset of his, basically, because Michael Cohen just knows way too much. So wasn't 2020 when Michael Cohen served his term for the lying about the payments that he made to Stormy Daniels and to who was the Playboy model that was going on at the same time as Stormy Daniels? Do you remember Annabise? I always forget her name. Let's see. And then, oh, Helby's here. Hello, how are you? That is insane. What? It didn't make sense. Okay, 1 second. Oh, what's insane is that she tries to say that she didn't know little E that well. She was just his employee. Karen McDougal, that was the other one. How are you, Helby? What's going on? I'm just kind of not firing on all pistons today. So I'm a little brain dead. I do apologize. I thought I'd come on anyway since I did not make a video yesterday or the day before. And so I think what it is like I get out of practice. It's like that's why I try to do it every day. It's just so that it's more second nature. Because yeah, it's kind of awkward having conversations with, just the typing, and trying to read my own writing is the worst part. Honestly. Maybe I should type my notes, right? I'm good. Thanks. Hope you are doing well. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, other than, the braces, but try to just say what I always say: if that's my biggest problem, how lucky am I? Annabise says, is Jiz getting dementia because we're not? Well, Annabise, I'm glad that you asked, because yes, she claims that she doesn't have a very good memory. She's like all of 63, and she just can't remember. Like, she's got a very, very selective memory. Like, she can, and then she can't, and then she's not sure what year it was, but then she is sure. Oh no, hope the braces settle soon. I know. They are settling. I got a water pick. That is a life changer. I can't believe I didn't have one for a few days when I first got the braces on. Absolutely necessary. So I'm good with that now. And I always liked water picks anyway. They're just kind of inconvenient. But nowadays they're more convenient. The one I got was just from the grocery store. It's just a little handheld, so you don't have to have like that thing on the sink that is always a hassle to deal with. It's just this little handheld thing, kind of like one of those toothbrushes, like an electric toothbrush, but it's a water pick. So yeah, it's very cool. So yeah, Donnie wanted to be governor of New York in 2013. Crazy. So I wanted to say that the video of little E, his jail cell, that they circulated to try to say, like, look, it's evidence that he did this to himself. That video is a lot, in my opinion, it's a lot like the fire cam footage in Kylie's case. Like, these idiots just think, well, if we just give the public a video of something, then they'll believe it, and then we'll be done, and we can just wash our hands clean of it. It's just like, it does not even make sense. So I did not know that there was a man named Brad Edwards who was trying to overturn little E's conviction from 2008. I got to do more research on that. Brad Edwards. I think that might be about it. Yeah, I think that is about it. I thought I had more, but no. I'll try to do better tomorrow, you guys. I mean, there's some interesting information in the video today. I'm just kind of I don't know, sleepy, I guess. Like I said, it's kind of hot in here, so yeah, just not quite wired together the way I normally am. It must be the Alzheimer's kicking in. Not to mention the missing minute, right? They left the cursor in the video. Oh, Annabise, you are so funny. Thank you for your comments. And yeah, how was your weekend, Helby? It's nice to see you. Sorry that I'm just at the tail end here. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up since I've been on for 90 minutes. And I like to kind of have more condensation, have my videos be more condensed and packed full of interesting ideas and information. And I just kind of feel like I'm, missing it today. So thanks so much for being here, you guys. Love and light. And yeah, we'll get back on the ball and get on it. Have a really good day. Drink your water, eat your protein, eat your fruits and veggies, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks a million. Weekend was good. Thanks. Catch you all tomorrow. Yeah. And check out, if you're interested, check out the What's the Obsession video. She did a really long live last night, but Um, I believe Nicole Kessinger was there in the live. She had a weird handle. I can't remember what it was, but it had like 3 8s in it, or 4 8s, or 88. Um, and I was in the chat and I kept saying, hi, Nicole. I wasn't the only one that thinks it was her. I'm absolutely sure that it was her. So I'll put a link to that in the description if you're interested, if you follow the Watts case. Because, yeah, I think I've caught her in Watts's chats before, but I haven't been as sure as I was last night. It was hilarious. So check that out. All right. Love and light. See you on the next one.